Okay, so in chapter 20, we are 5 paragraphs from the bottom of the text. Because of the appearance of the autumn season, the water of the ocean becomes calm and quiet, just as a person developed in self realization becomes free from disturbance by the 3 modes of material nature. In autumn, farmers save the water. In autumn, farmers save the water within the fields by building strong walls so that the water contained within the field cannot run out. There is hardly any hope for new rainfall. Therefore, they want to save whatever is in the field. Similarly, a person who is actually advanced in self realization protects his energy by controlling the senses. It is advised that after the age of 50, one should retire from family life and conserve the energy of the body for utilization in the advancement of Krishna consciousness. Unless one is able to control the senses and engage them in the transcendental loving service of Mukunda, there is no possibility of salvation. During the daytime in autumn, the sun is very scorching, but at night, due to the clear moonshine, people get relief from the day's fatigue. Similarly, a person who takes shelter of Mukunda or Krishna can be saved from the fatigue of misidentifying the body with the self. Mukunda or Krishna is also the source of solace for the damsels of Raja, Vrindavan. The damsels of Rajbhumi are always suffering because of separation from Krishna, but when they meet him during the moonlit autumn night, their fatigue of separation is relieved. When the sky is clear of all clouds, the stars at night shine very beautifully. Similarly, when a person is actually situated in Krishna consciousness, he is cleared of all dirty things, and he becomes as beautiful as the stars in the autumn sky. Although the Vedas contain instructions for pursuing knowledge, jnana, for practicing mystic yoga, and for engaging in karmic activities in the form of sacrifices, the ultimate purpose of the Vedas is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. That is, one has to accept Krishna consciousness after thoroughly studying the Vedas. Therefore, the clean heart of a devotee in Krishna consciousness can be compared to the clean sky of the autumn season. During autumn, the moon looks very bright along with the stars in the clear sky. Lord Krishna himself appeared in the sky of the Yadu dynasty, and he was exactly like the moon surrounded by the stars. Or the members of the Yadu dynasty. When there are ample blooming flowers in the gardens and the forest, the fresh aromatic breeze gives great relief to the persons who have suffered during the summer and rainy seasons. Unfortunately, such breezes could not give any relief to the gopis because of their heart's dedication to Krishna. People in general might have taken pleasure in that nice autumn breeze, but the gopis, not being embraced by Krishna, were not very much satisfied. On the arrival of the autumn season, all the cows, deer, birds, and females in general become pregnant because in that season all the husbands generally become impelled by sex desire. Such pregnant females are exactly like the transcendentalists who, by the grace of the Supreme Lord, are bestowed with benediction of their destinations in life. Srila Rupa Goswami has instructed in his Upandesh Amrita that one should execute devotional service with great enthusiasm, patience, and conviction, and should follow the rules and regulations, keep oneself clean from material contamination, and stay in the association of devotees. By following these six principles, one is sure to achieve the desired result of devotional service. For one who patiently follows the regulated principles of devotional service, the time will undoubtedly come when he will achieve the desired result, just as the females reap results by becoming pregnant. During the autumn, the lotus flowers in the lakes grow in large numbers because of the absence of lilies. Both the lilies and the lotus flowers grow by sunshine, but during the autumn season, the scorching sunshine helps only the lotus. This example is compared to a country where the king or the government is strong. The unwanted elements like thieves and robbers cannot prosper. When the citizens become confident that they will not be attacked by robbers, they develop with great satisfaction. A strong government is compared to the scorching sunshine in the autumn season. The lilies are compared to unwanted persons like robbers, and the lotus flowers are compared to the satisfied citizens.
Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Shagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lolita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Panchakol Patarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Here there's another reference to government, and the advice is given that the government should be strong. Growing up in the 60s, we wanted no government. The government should disappear, it should cease to exist. But here in the culture of the Vedic knowledge, the government should be very strong. Because if the government is not strong, then you'll have thieves and rogues, and no one's personal safety or security of possessions can be assured. We've seen that governments can go, there are so many ways to go wrong. They can be oppressive and self-interested, so that they just want to loot the citizens or oppress the citizens and give them no proper facility, no proper rights. or the other way, that they go so loose that uh, no one can function. We know countries that are like that, where the government has become so loose that no one can go anywhere. You can't walk around safely. Everybody has to have homes surrounded by walls and barbed wires and uh, various security devices and dogs, uh, just because the government is so weak that they can't control the thieves and dacoits. So that kind of government is not at all good. And the government that itself is the thief is also no good. We heard about that previously, how the government comes up from below, that there's some oppressive government. So then there's a revolution or some political upheaval, and the old government is thrown out, the new government is brought in, and the new government takes the opportunity to line their pockets. So the government should be Krishna conscious. There should be persons who are, Prabhupada mentions this in the first canto, strong. On the one side, they should have power, and they should be cultured. They should know the principles of duty so that they treat everyone properly. Then there can be peace, prosperity, happiness as far as possible. The king has this duty. But now you get governments where the police have no power, the government itself has no head, everything is shambles. Then things go down and down and down.
Thank you much. During autumn, the fields become filled with ripened grain. At that time, the people become happy over the harvest and observe various ceremonies, such as Nirvana, the offering of new grain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The new grain is first offered to the deities in various temples, and all are invited to take sweet rice made with this new grain. There are other religious ceremonies and methods of worship, particularly in Bengal, where the greatest of all such ceremonies is held, called Durga Puja. In Vrindavan, the autumn season was very beautiful then because of the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and Balaram. The mercantile community, the royal order, and great sages were free to move about in order to achieve their desired benedictions. Similarly, the transcendentalists, when freed from the engagement of the material body, also achieved their desired goal. During the rainy season, the mercantile community cannot move from one place to another, and so do not get their desired profit. Nor can the royal order go from one place to another to collect taxes from the people. As for saintly persons who must travel to preach transcendental knowledge, they are also are restrained by the rainy season. But during the autumn, all of them leave their confines. In the case of the transcendentalist, be he a jnani or yogi or a devotee, because of the material body, he cannot actually enjoy spiritual achievement. But as soon as he gives up the body, or after death, the jnani merges into the spiritual effulgence of the Supreme Lord. The yogi transcends himself to the various higher planets, and the devotee goes to the planet of the Supreme Lord, Gokul Vrindavan, or one of the Vaikunthas, and thus enjoys his eternal spiritual life. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 20th chapter of Krishna, Description of Autumn.
We've stretched this chapter over several days because there's no real storyline. There are various analogies, instructive analogies. So we've looked at some of them and heard the others. Are there any questions on anything we've read today or in the previous days? Questions, comments? Pyari Prabhu.
Just about the governments being strong. Now, communist government is very strong. So, how is that? A bad government, you might say.
Well, I don't know the ins and outs of communist government, and it may differ from country to country. The government of one communist country may not be like the government of another communist country. But strength is good for a government, whether it's communist or communist or democratic or monarchical. The government should be strong. A weak government is useless, whatever brand it comes under. If it can't do anything, what's the use of it? You can call it democratic, you can call it communist, you can call it anything, but finally you have to call it useless because it's ineffective. It can't do anything. It has no strength. I may be a whatever my occupation is or whatever my political views are, but if I'm weak, it doesn't matter what I am, I'm nothing. I can't do anything. So and if I'm strong, I can do something. So I should be strong. But then when I'm strong, I should know what to do. Not that because I'm strong, I can, just like King Bena, he was strong. And it was appreciated that the land had been overrun by thieves and dacoits. But when Vena, and so the Brahmins were concerned that there's no government, then how will things go on? So they put Vena at the helm. And all right, a blind uncle's better than no uncle. They put Vena in charge. And immediately the thieves saw who was in charge. And what's that cloud in the distance? That's the thieves and rogues running. They're going to go somewhere else because they know, as they say, the jig's up. We're not going to be able to get away with anything here. That King Bena catches us, we're going to be dealt with severely. There's a story that, not a story, it's a historical fact, that in Saudi Arabia, there was a king, of course. I forget which ruler it was at the time. And there'd been a traveler from the kingdom who'd gone out, and he'd come back through, the trails on the desert or whatever. And along the way, he saw these bags, like these big bags that we see with cement or something, with sand. So he saw these big bags, and he thought, what's this lying here? And so he tested it with his toe, and he saw it was coffee beans. So then he came back to the kingdom, and when he reached the court, he reported that there are these bags of coffee beans lying there. So the king said, how did you know that they were coffee beans? He said, well, I tested them with my toe. So the king had the man's toe amputated. What business did you have sticking your toe in in there. You knew it wasn't yours. So why were you meddling like that? It wasn't your property. So then the word got out all over the kingdom that this is a king who, if we even put our toe in someone else's property, we stand to lose our toe. And even today, if you go to the Middle East, you'll find that, contrary to sort of American expectations of the Middle East, everything is very, it's very safe. You can walk anytime, day or night, not be in worry about your safety or anything. Strong government. So for the government to be strong is good. Then they have to know how to be generous also. Not that we suck up all the tax money and then it's ours. We spend it among our friends and enjoy. Everybody should have the necessities of life. The Brahmins, Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, the Shudras even, they should all have, they should all be happy. When the government gets greedy, then they just want to suck everything from everybody, and everyone feels miserable. So they have to see that there's distribution of benefits to all the members of the society. The communist form of government, in theory, is meant to do that. It's meant to provide the necessities to all the different members of the state, regardless of their position. And therefore, among American intellectuals in the like 1940s and so on, communism was appealing. It's not like the capitalist form of government in which a few prosper at the expense of everyone. It seeks to distribute the wealth to the people who produce the wealth. So it was seen as something good. In practice, it was something else. But that's not so much because of whether it's communist or capitalist. It's because there's some other kind of interest there. And also because the communist theory that everything belongs to everyone or everything belongs to the state is not on target. The real deficiency is that they deny the existence of Krishna as the supreme owner of everything. And they deny the laws of Krishna as the real laws of the state. Otherwise, the aspiration to have a strong government that will see that no one is taking on undue advantage and that everyone has enough of everything is good. Again, I'm not the expert on world political affairs, and I have no experience of living more than a week or so under a communist government. So I don't want to go past my qualification. We have people here who could talk about these things with authority. But another thing we saw, for example, from strong government is that in the former Soviet Union, pornography was just not there. The government was against it, so that was it. And after the government changed, then we open up, and pornography is like just another business. So there's the goods and the bads of any particular government or form of government. Any comments from Russians? Anything to add? No. Yeah.
Ну, я прожила при коммунизме до 20 лет.
So I've lived under communism for 20 years until I was 20.
И как ребенку мне было хорошо жить. И я понимаю, что сейчас в стране значительно хуже детям живется.
And as a child, for me, it was actually quite good. And observing kids nowadays, I can say that they live in a worse condition than I did. Worse condition.
Но я думаю, что вот эта идеология, которая насаждалась, она очень ограничивала людей.
But I think that this ideology of the communism, they were, kind of like isolated people in a way. It was setting up a lot of boundaries.
То есть эти ограничения, они как бы закрывают кругозор, и ведь коммунисты сказали, что Бога нет.
So those restrictions, they made people not so open-minded, and also they basically said that there is no God.
И я помню, что я первый раз вообще в церковь попала, то есть в моей семье никто не думал о Боге. И я в первый раз попала в церковь в 15 лет, и мама сказала: бабушке не говори.
And actually, my first time visiting a church when was I turned 15, and me and my mom went there, and after that she told me, please don't tell your grandma that we went there.
То есть такие ограничения свободы мысли, свободы действия, свободы слова, они для детей, может быть, это не так страшно, но эти дети вырастают, и они становятся очень ограниченными.
So those restrictions of, from freedom of thoughts, actions, and words, it may be good for the kids, but when they grow up,
It's not so good.
Yeah, it's not so great.
И, честно сказать, это ужасно, когда оказалось, что Ленин — это не самый добрый дедушка. Для меня это была большая трагедия.
And actually, it was terrifying when we got to know that Lenin isn't a, friendly grandpa. We became like really surprised.
Yeah.
То есть это просто навязанная какая-то придуманная религия. Это отвратительно.
And actually, just a made-up religion.
Yeah.
Someone made it up, and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, I have one now. Yeah. I don't need yours. That's why we went through that. Yes, I saw that when I went to Russia. I guess, when did I first go? Maybe soon after things changed. That there was a depiction of Lenin as just as you said, like a kind grandfather. He was such a nice man and just wanted good for all the people. And then it came out that he was a ruthless politician, simply concerned with his own interests and the interests of his associates. So she rightly said it was like a substitute religion. So many good things were there, but the bad thing is that we're denying the personality of Godhead, and we make our own rules. We imagine what would be a good government, and then we put it in place. And because we have power, we can do it to a certain extent. But it's false. The government is supposed to be the representative of God, not the competitor or the denier of God. There's a temple in South India, Anantapuram, Temple of the Lord Vishnu. And the history is there in the temple that at one time, I forget exactly when, the king of the country, it was part of, they were all kingdoms in India. The king came to the temple with all of his ministers and queen and everybody, and the king offered his sword at the feet of the deity. That means he offered the whole kingdom. The kingdom is your property. Then he took his sword back and ruled on behalf of the deity. That's actual government. That it's the property of the deity, and the government, the king, administers the property on behalf of the Lord. And all the citizens are seen as the servants of the Lord, our children of the Lord. And the king has to take responsibility for their welfare. So that's the defect of communism, not so much their social theory, not so much their this or that, but that they denied the personality of Godhead. Other things may also be wrong, not that their social theory was so great, but the big problem is that we denied the personality of Godhead, and then nothing will work. Then nothing will work. If we try to deny the absolute truth, then we'll have falsity. And that's what we had. Otherwise, and that cancels out. There were good things, so kids were happy. So many, and people would do things for one another, because it wasn't just driven by everybody getting paid for this and that. So neighbors would help one another out, and if you were a plumber, you'd help out with your neighbor's plumbing, or because that was the idea, that everything was for everyone, not simply for salary. So that's good. And then afterwards, that changed. Everything had a price tag on it. But all the good things were canceled out by denial of Krishna. But Prabhupada said nothing is good without God. And we saw also that I was in, anyway, their whole social theory was defective. And without, and who's really in charge? Maya's in charge. The Lenin, the Stalin, they're thinking they're in charge, but actually Maya's in charge. And so whatever they try to do, finally, they don't have real power. The power lies in the hands of the material energy. I went to Hungary during the communist regime, and it was my first time there. And as an American, you always think that there's always somebody looking over your shoulder, spying on you, and who knows? There's this all-powerful hand of the state. You grow up in America thinking all these things about communist governments. And I was dressed in Western dress and so on, because I'm going to meet devotees. And then I got to Budapest, and I saw that everything's like normal. The trains are running, and people are doing their work, and they're hopping on buses and going here and going there. And it's like any place else in the world. And I realized they're having sex. so everybody goes on working. How can they tolerate living under such an oppressive government? Well, you give us some sex, we'll live anywhere. We don't care, whatever the government is. That's the real force that makes us work. We're not working for some ideology or even for the kind grandfatherly Lenin. If there's sex, then we'll put up with anything. That we saw. So from that point of view, no difference between communism and capitalism. The same force drives both of them. Some other question? Or comment? Yes.
I was thinking about collective karma because in all these different countries, there's different governments and there's just a different way of life that everyone kind of experiences, like more or less, it's similar. So I was wondering if everyone in that place has like a large amount of the same karma to experience the same like oppression.
Does everybody have a shared karma in these countries or in any country? Yes. Definitely. Not that it's the same for everyone. Everyone still has their individual karma. Someone's a Russian aristocrat, someone's a Russian thief. There's a difference. But there is a shared karma, definitely. It's sort of a weird feature of modern society to think that all people are the same, that there's really no difference between anyone and anyone else. We all have the same God-given capabilities, and we just need to have freedom, and then everything will come out. It's all nonsense. People are different. You want to give me my book? I have. I'm trying to think where this is. Where is that? Where I've written about it? Yeah. See if it's in the index. Maybe it is, and maybe it's not. Okay. Looking hopeful. Okay. In Ecclesiastes, it said that, well, let's see. I won't deal with the quote because it's a little disconnected, but it comes to the question of what's predetermined. We think of freedom, but to what extent am I not free? To what extent is the script already written? To what extent are things predetermined? In Ecclesiastes, it said, whatever has come to be, its name was already given. And what man is foreknown. nor can man contend with him who is mightier than he. So its name is already known. What does it mean that whatever has come to be has had its name already given? If something's already been named, commentators say, it's defined. It's something known. Tree, rock, battle, birthday party. So if everything has already been named, there's nothing new under the sun. We can read what has come to be as what has happened. And if whatever has happened was already named, it was already defined, already known. That is to say, destined to happen, predetermined. For one who's been born, Krishna says, death is certain. With this conclusion, one can hardly argue. But why is death certain? Because of the mechanics of nature's laws. Nature works in such a way that for one who's born, death is sure. That one must die is predetermined. But between birth and death, is the body free from the mechanical workings of nature? Obviously not. In accordance with nature's law, the body will grow and develop, stay for some time, and gradually dwindle and die. Throughout life, it will need food, of which a portion it will assimilate, and a portion be compelled to excrete. The lungs will breathe, the heart will pump, the blood will course through the veins, hormones will appear at appointed times and circulate, the mind will be busy, and millions of other things, great and small, that are supposed to happen with the body will happen. Automatically, we say, meaning they will happen in obedience to nature's laws. And not everything happens the same way for everyone. According to the body with which one is born, nature will work differently. The child born a boy will not grow up to be a girl or become a mother. The child born black will not grow up white, nor the white child grow up black. This too is predetermined. The house in which we are born is assigned to us. We are plopped into the house of a beggar or an aristocrat, of a professor, a salesman, a gardener, a scientist, or a pickpocket, in New York or New Delhi or New Guinea. And that determines what language we'll speak, what food we'll eat, what sort of friends and relatives we'll have, and much more. All predetermined. And so we grow up differently with different circumstances, different opportunities, different limitations, different destinies. How much then, as we look more closely in details, actually remains an open question, an open choice, free and clear, with nothing in the background to determine which way we'll choose. How much freedom do we have? What we hear from the Bhagavad Gita is that practically everything in our life, great and small, is controlled by the workings of nature, although we egotistically think, I am the one who makes it happen. Whatever we may think, we are not in control, but under control, pushed and pulled this way and that by powerful natural forces along a course long ago defined, which we imagine we chart out for ourselves. Our spiritual master, our independence, my spiritual master taught, is tiny. So we're all under karma, and we're assigned to a particular part of the world. And there's a difference. There's a difference in our standard of living. Prabhupada said, you Americans, by your karma, you'll have prosperity wherever you go. You'll have a certain level of comfort. Because you got an American body, you'll have a certain standard of comfort automatically going with you wherever you go. It comes with the body. It comes with the body. So there's shared karma. There are national characteristics. There's a joke about, for those who, it's funny for those who've spent time in Europe. Others may not find it so funny. There's a story about European heaven and European hell. In European heaven, all the police are British, all the cooks are Italian, all of the mechanics are German, and it goes on like that. You know the story? And in European hell, all the mechanics are Italian, all the cooks are British, all the police are German. Oh, I've got some. There are natural characteristics that we recognize in different countries. In America today, if you want a lawyer, you want a Jewish lawyer. They have some with tribal karma for being good lawyers. If you're Marwari, you're practically destined to be prosperous. We have a devotee, Radha Jivan. He was a brahmachari in Mayapur, and he took charge of that what is it called, Mayapur Bandhar, that little shop in the no, on shop by the, what building is it called? Not the Lotus building, but the tall one next to. I forget what's the Gada building, I guess. So there's a shop there in the plaza, on the plaza. So he took charge of that shop. The shop did very well. Then he moved to America and started a business, cloth business. Became $1 million business because he's a Marwari. When a Marwari starts a business, it'll be $1 million business. Marwari is Indian business community. If you're Gujarati, you'll eat dokla and kanvi and all of those things. If you're South Indian, it'll be dosha and vada and so on. Everything will, why? Why is everyone down in South India eating dosha, idli, and so on? Everyone in Gujarat eating dokla and kanvi and so on. It's shared karma. It's shared karma. And that shared karma can happen, can take other forms. Right now there's shared karma in Ukraine. They're in the midst of a war. There was shared karma in Vietnam. They were in the midst of a war. There's shared karma wherever you go. The country is going up or the country is going down. So there's definitely shared karma. You get on an airplane and it crashes. There was not that, and people were from all parts of the country or all parts of the world, and some are businessmen and some are holiday travelers, but they all get on the same plane and they all have the same shared karma. They all go down together. So there's definitely karma is complex, and it can pull all sorts of diverse people or diverse souls, let's say, into one place and say, okay, take that. And whatever that may be, it may be living under communism, it may be living under a false democracy, it may be living through a financial depression or living in financial prosperity. But there's that element of shared karma. And then there's individual karma. So in the midst of an oppressive government, still some people make out big. They wind up making a lot of money, or they wind up doing something or something or something. They were in the hippie culture, where everybody was like sort of going back to a almost poverty. Voluntarily, kids from rich families were living on the streets. But then there were the rich hippies. There was a class of hippies who were, they'd start a business or something, and they'd be making good money. They'd be selling drugs, or they'd be selling something else. And while all the other hippies were living in poverty, they'd be making good money. They'd start a music business or something. And while all the hippies are watching the bands, they're watching the dollars. So there's individual karma, and there's shared group karma, national karma, local karma, family karma. Generation after generation, a family is inheriting, as it were, a certain sort of karmic destiny, and particular souls are placed by material nature. Okay, you take birth in this family, you take birth in that family. So someone becomes the son of a high court judge, someone becomes the son of a sanitation worker. They'll all be, karma's working like that. Okay. And we have this weird idea that even communism, that everyone somehow or other, a classless society, the stupidest thing in the world. That first of all, it was never classless, am I right? There were always classes, maybe unstated, but there were always classes. The professors weren't sweeping the streets sweepers weren't teaching in the universities. People belonged to different classes. Now, maybe they didn't have the same privileges or whatever associated with those positions elsewhere, but still there were different classes, because people are not all the same. Someone's running the government. So, and then Varnashram is some sort of oppressive class imposition of classes on society. No, we're Chaturvarnya Mayashvishtam. Guna Karma Vibhaga. These, Krishna says, these classes are everywhere because they're created by me. Guna Karma Vibhaga, according to Guna and Karma. So you find there are people who have the qualities of Shudras wherever you go. Whether it's to a classless society or another kind of society, whether it's Fiji or France, you'll find that people have certain kind of, they're people of this quality, Brahminical quality, Shudra quality, take charge, Kshatriya kind of quality, business mentality, and guna and karma. And then there are people who are working accordingly. Someone's working as a doctor, someone's working as a lawyer, someone's working as a businessman, someone's working as an intellectual. So these sections are everywhere. And the Vedic culture recognizes it. It says, no, we're a classless society, stupidest thing in the world. It's not there. Or the America has the same idea that all men are created equal. First of all, the women say, all men. But then even if we say all people are created equal, they're not. I was never going to be a heavyweight champion, fighter. I wasn't created equal. The man with the qualities of a construction worker is not going to be like a nuclear scientist. People are born with different qualities, and accordingly they should have different work. And that's another mistake. They try to, by some artificial means, because we want to have a classless society, or we want to have equality or equal opportunity. In America, there's a word for it. What is the term they use? I forgot. There's a word for it. Hmm? No, not we the people. There's a word where you compensate for the disadvantages of a group of people by putting them ahead. I can only remember the South African term, but there's a corresponding American term. I just forget it. But the idea is that we see an imbalance, and so we're going to put these people to the head of the line and say, okay, you be in front because you've had a bad deal and you deserve to be in front. And yeah, sometimes they're very qualified people and it gives them an opportunity which they wouldn't have had. And sometimes instead you're just promoting people who are of the lowest quality and saying, okay, we're going to put you way up here where you have no capability. And then whatever you do is going to be a mess. So if you're in charge of, we'll put you in charge of the electrical department, and then there'll be power shortages and brownouts and all of that because you don't know what you're doing. Why are you there? Because we promoted you because everyone should have an equal opportunity. Or, same thing in any department. We promote people just because they belong to a disadvantaged class. This is of course in India. Yeah, downtrodden. But there's a particular word for the kind of compensation they do in America. A very common term, and it's skipping out of my mind. But the result is that those who are qualified become frustrated, and then those who are unqualified take positions that they're unfit for, and like running the government, for example, and everything becomes a mess. So Krishna says, guna karma vibhagasha. Not that we just take a section of people and say, oh, we're going to promote you because you've been down, but we look to see the qualities of everyone. And then Narad says to Yudhisthira, you see a person in a Brahmin family, but he's got a Shudra quality. He's a Shudra. You see a person in a Shudra quality, he has a Shudra family, he has Brahminical qualities, he's a Brahmin. So we have to see according to the qualities, not according to some artificial ideal that everybody should be equal, everyone should have an equal. No. Everyone's not equal. Everyone doesn't have the same capabilities. Not everyone is fit for the same work. But you see, not according to birth. And that's what's messed India up, that people think that I'm a Brahmin, even though I'm, pulling a tela, pulling a cart, but I'm claiming to be a Brahmin while I'm doing a Shudra's work. And I'm wearing a sacred thread and people are calling me Panditji. So birth is not the thing. We have to see what a person's qualities are and what he's actually doing. I may call myself a doctor, but if I'm actually doing business, I'm a businessman. So the qualities and the work. So that's the real standard. And that's the government's duty, to see that everyone is properly engaged according to his qualities and according to his capability for working in a particular way. Not that everybody's equal, everybody's the same, classless society, democratic society. It's just for manipulation. We profess to be interested in having everyone have an equal chance, but our interest is really having an equal chance to loot everybody. Or, to get everybody, we've figured out where the votes are, and so we're somehow or other going to promise you this, promise you that, promise you an equal chance of this, that, the other. And then we get into office, and now we have fun. So the right system is given by Krishna, and it starts with seeing that God or Krishna is the supreme authority, not that we have a government like that was Vena's. Why Why worship God? Why are these Brahmins all chanting Vedic mantras? They should be worshiping the king. They should be worshiping the king. That was his, of course, one of his demonic qualities. Forbidding the Brahmins to perform sacrifices and so on. Everything should be for the king. So the first qualification for the government, good government, is it has to acknowledge the supreme authority, Krishna, and act in service to that supreme authority. Then people can be happy. Anything else? No? Yes? Okay. Yes?
Я оказалась очень болтливой сегодня.
Got myself into talking today.
Mm-hmm.
So that she got herself into talking.
She got herself into talking today. Very good.
А я как раз хотела добавить вот к тому, к моему рассказу о коммунизме. И я сейчас слушала Махараджа.
Actually, there is something that I wanted to add to my story, the previous story about the communism, after listening to you, Maharaj.
Good.
В Советском Союзе на самом деле у многих были равные права, то есть в плане того, что детям давали очень хорошее образование, из разных слоев детям давали одинаково хорошее образование.
Back in the Soviet Union days, the good thing about the equality, that all the kids, despite of their, parents and where they grow up, the social position, they all get a chance to have good education.
И если они проявляли свои хорошие какие-то навыки, качества, то они могли по социальной лестнице достаточно быстро продвигаться, их никто не сдерживал.
And if some of the kids would show some good qualities or they were perfect at something, they will easily be given the opportunity to go up in the socially speaking, and no one will press them down.
И дети, у которых родители были неграмотными, могли быть учеными, могли запускать корабли в космос.
And even the kids whose parents weren't educated at all, they could become scientists and they can, help loading and start the sky ships and whatnot.
То есть сейчас я вижу, что коммунизм — это на самом деле тот самый Вену, который закрыл доступ к Богу. То есть самая большая ошибка коммунистов — это то, что они закрыли все на себе. То есть они решили, что это они во главе Вселенной стоят.
And now I see that communism back in the days actually is like Venu. Like King Vena. And basically they put themselves in the center and they locked it up and they made them as the head and in charge.
То есть вроде бы внутри все и неплохо, но идеология отвратительная.
And on the inside we could see that, it seems fine, but the, ideology and everything is terrible. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I have a question. So, my first thought is, what we can do about it?
What do we do about it? The most important thing is to spread Krishna consciousness. Because if you don't have that, everything will fail. Doesn't matter what form of government you have or who's in charge or anything, it will ultimately be a failure if there's no Krishna consciousness. And even if there's Krishna consciousness, even if there's some incompetence, some mismanagement, but at least there'll be Krishna consciousness and things you have the conception right. It's just a question of getting the right people in the right places, but your plan is right, your structure is right. If you start with a bad plan, a bad structure, you build a building according to defective blueprints, it's not going to work. The building will will crash or something bad will happen. But both things are wanted. You want the right understanding, Krishna consciousness, and then the right people who can, the right people in the right places. So our most important, our duty, because what can we do about it? Because there's other people they can do, but what can we do? We have to, our duty is to spread knowledge. That's the most, that's the thing that's most missing. Prabhupada said the arms are there, the legs are there, the feet are there, the belly is there. Only one thing's not there, the head. So without the head, everything will fail. It's like a, some sort of ghoulish dead body walking without a head. So our business is to provide the vision. Head provides vision, the intelligence, the vision. So that's there in these books. What am I speaking? What kind of social philosopher or sage am I? But I'm just repeating from Prabhupada's books. So anyone can take advantage of these books and get knowledge. They'll know how the government's supposed to run. They'll know what the proper platform for business is, Krishi Goraksha Vanijam. They'll know so many things. They'll know what the purpose of their life is. You've got a great government, you've got a prosperous society, you don't know who you are and you don't know what the purpose of your life is. And not only that, but you've got a whole country of people who don't know and it'll be a failure. It'll all be a failure. So our job is to provide the vision. And Prabhupada cited the example of communism. How did communism spread? By publications. Das Kapital was there, and the message of communism was spread through various newspapers and books and pamphlets and propaganda of various kinds. A theory that didn't really hang together, but somehow it got real traction on the basis of spreading publications. So when you actually have publications that give true knowledge, then what can happen by distributing? And we see that people read these books and it changes their lives. They get an entirely different vision. And it should be spread to the leaders of society. That was one of Prabhupada's points. It's not just meant for the ordinary person, but yadyadratriti shreshtas. The leading people of the world, particularly, we should reach out to so that they take this message of Krishna consciousness. Preach to a king, or leaders, whether it's the thought leaders or the political leaders, but the leaders of society should hear this philosophy. They should get these books. They should get this understanding. That will change everything. Okay?
Thank you.
You wanted to say something? We're out of time, but if you wanted to ask something or say small, okay.
Maharaj, you talked about this shared karma and something you mentioned about your destined, something which is destined. But and you talked about this Chatusvarna Maya Srishtaha Gulikan Vibhagasa. This, anyone whosoever is there in according to his karma, according to his guna, he's subject to become Brahmana or whatever. But does it get and under changes? I've seen in society many people who born as a Brahmana family and he destined to become Brahmana, but over the period of time they go
By
through some
association, that also.
and it gets
Jamil was born in a Brahmin family. He became degraded. So that's also possible. Not that I have a lifetime guarantee. You wanted to say something? No. Okay. So our time is has reached its end. It's time for kirtan. And who would like to lead kirtan? You like to lead kirtan? Okay, you're Guna Karma Vibhaksha. You're qualified. And have a
विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्ति वेदान्त स्वामीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी अश्रतादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jai Om Vishnupad Purnaman Suparibraj Akacharya Sto Tarasvashi Shrimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kundi Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamana Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Thank you all very much. Tomorrow's the Purnima, so we'll read Gopis Attracted by the Flute, the start of the Rasa dance chapters. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.